Faster than a speeding bullet.
I ran until my muscles burned and my veins pumped battery acid.
More powerful than a locomotive.
An idea is like a virus. Resilient. Highly contagious.
Able to leap tall buildings in a single bound.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Better Humanology Podcast. My name is Jared Moon, and with me, as always, is Talon Schwam. What's up, Talon?
What's up, man? How's it going?
It's good. Glad to have you back on the show.
Yeah, it's been a little while.
Yeah, so if you're brand new to the podcast and you haven't scrolled back just a few episodes, this is Talon. He's been on. He's not a guest. He is a co-host for a long time, and then we moved more towards interviews for a long duration. But this is Talon, and he's back for the season 2 finale. And
What's up, people?
Glad you're here.
I'm glad.
And I'm just giving you a hard time.
I'm just happy to be here. Yeah, it's been a busy few months, weeks.
I don't know how long it's been, but it's been
a long time.
It's been a duration.
Yes.
All right, man. So I thought that we would hit off our challenges because I was talking before the podcast. Now that I do so many interviews, I'm always giving that challenge, those book recommendations, to the guest, and I'm never giving them. And
right.
It doesn't mean I'm not reading a new book every week and all these different things. And so I'm happy to get into that. But I also thought we could talk about, maybe a little reminisce on some of season 2 and overall the podcast so far. But then we'll hop into the meat of the show. You cool with that?
Yeah, it's cool, man. I got to ask you though, real quick. Only one book a week now? What's going on?
Yeah, I had to slow down, man. It's 50 a year is my goal. And some weeks I can do 2, and then next week I do 0. It's just up and down,
Gotcha.
But yeah, I feel like it's harder and harder to find recommendations at this pace. And so I end up reading books that I don't enjoy. So now I'm just trying to reach out to people. And a lot of the guests, when they have their recommendations, maybe I've already read the book, or sometimes I read it right away. So I like having them recommend books as well.
Okay, good. I thought maybe you're slipping without me around.
Oh, no, still reading, good amount. Still train in my garage. All right, dude, but you know what we've missed a lot of?
What's that?
Talon's Challenge.
Oh, right off the top?
Yeah, so let's do Talon's Challenge.
Okay, Talon's Challenge this week, guys, is kind of like a resurrection kind of challenge, right? I was just recently on a little kind of family trip, and I got back kind of to nature a little bit on this trip. Something I really want to talk about for a long time was tree therapy on the show. We never got around to it. Season 2, that's too bad. Maybe one of these days, it'll happen for this show. But I got around to it a little bit on my own and slept outside when we were camping. And that's the first time I've done that since I was probably a young, probably teenager. And so for my challenge this week is to just spend one night sleeping outside. I mean, it's okay if it's in a tent, no matter what it is. You want to make sure you're safe and, aware from threats. But at the same time, it just kind of reconnected me almost to my existence and to the world a little bit more. I mean, hear all the sounds, just to sleep in that kind of, just to sleep kind of in the elements. It was awesome. So that's my challenge this week. I think it makes you better because of it. Made me better.
So how'd you feel the next morning when you woke up having slept outside?
I felt great. I didn't even sleep on a comfortable area. I mean, I had this little kind of mat, and I was on it was on kind of a hill, so I wasn't really able to ever probably sleep more than 2.5 hours at one time before I'd have to move around, readjust, and go back to sleep. But when I woke up the next morning, I still felt great. When I got out of the tent, I just kind of did one of those big stretches, and just looked out the beautiful kind of forest area, and it was awesome. I mean, I just felt refreshed. I felt kind of rejuvenated. So
another question: I see it could do one of two things, and I haven't slept outside in a while, so I want to ask what happened for you. Did it give you a reframe, more appreciation for your bed at home, or were you
yes.
Man, I should do this more often, or maybe both?
No. It was really it was a both kind of thing, because immediately, I'm talking about, I couldn't sleep well. I still felt refreshed, I think, from the entire experience in the morning, but I didn't sleep well at all. So yeah, I totally was okay, still can't wait to get back to the bed. And then I remember when I got home that day, later on, even afterwards, I took a nap immediately as soon as I could get to the bed because I needed it. But Yeah, absolutely. Both reasons.
So not something you want to sustain, but nice for perspective shift.
Right. Just the one night.
Great, man. All right. I guess I'll throw down some challenges here. So I'm doing the fitness challenge and mental toughness challenge combined. I've actually given this challenge before, but it's been a long time, and it's coming around back at Into 3 Fitness. I'm challenging my athletes to do it this week, and it's the Iron Mile. So putting something metal on your back and walking a mile with this object. And yeah, we've done it before. It was like, I think, way closer to the beginning of season 2, and that's another reason I wanted to bring it back. And a few stipulations on the workout. It has to be metal. I try and make that very clear. It's called the Iron Mile. A lot of people want to put like a sandbag or a backpack on. That would be called something different. That's you're not asking a ruck or a sandbag mile. So make sure it's metal. And the reason is because it really, really sucks and pushes you mentally. It has to be metal to make that combination of the fitness and mental toughness challenge. So yeah, it sucks pretty badly, and I'll be doing it shortly. I'll be doing it soon.
Should it be called the Metal Mile? Or you have something iron on your back?
Well, I mean, Metal Mile sounds cool, but iron sounds cool. Yeah, it's on your back. It's on your back.
Yeah. Okay.
And then the other thing I like to give a stipulation is go out a half mile with it and then come back, and not like, around your block a couple times, because it gives you the opportunity to change the weight or quit early. But if you walk out a half mile, there's only one way to get home, and that's to walk another half mile.
I like that.
All right, so that's it. Fitness challenge and mental toughness challenge combined. And now to book recommendation. And I'm going to do the book Stealing Fire. Have you heard of this book?
I haven't.
So it's pretty, it's a pretty awesome book. I'm going to pull it up, just make sure I get the title all the way right on my phone. So it's, this is Audible. Stealing Fire, How Silicon Valley, the Navy SEALs, and maverick scientists are revolutionizing the way we live and work. And it talks a lot about changing our current state of consciousness, really, through, ways that you might be thinking of right off the bat. It could be alcohol, microdosing, different drugs. It could be, like shrooms. It could be,
wow.
He meant like a lot of it is about drugs. I would say half of it is, or whatever. But the other half is different kind of things like meditation and extreme sports and float tanks and all of these kind of things. And he covers the full gamut. So it's a good book. If you don't want to get into the illegal substances, it's not something I go into either. But I do find all of the information on it very interesting, because I think it has a lot of applications moving forward. And so really cool book, just to wrap your head around some of these practices. And he has like a lot of great techniques and strategies for like tracking which one's going to work the best for you. Because really, like, I probably shouldn't have gone so drug heavy right at the beginning of that, like mentioning it, because he has a lot of great stuff on just like meditation and different things that you can do and getting to this altered state or higher state of consciousness, should I say. And that's the whole point of the book, because the Navy SEALs are actually doing it. They have something that's called like the Mind Gym. They're doing float tanks and meditation. And the coolest thing I thought, what I heard in the book, is they said they instituted all this stuff. And I wouldn't be surprised if secretly, like, they're giving them like LSD or something too, like some secret government program. But what's cool is they were able to take a Navy SEAL learning a new language in 6 weeks, which is already crazy fast. Or no, 6 months to 6 weeks. That's what it was.
Okay.
So the typical time it was taking them to become fluent in a new language is 6 months, and then they started doing all of these things with float tanks and blah blah blah, and they decreased that time to 6 weeks. Pretty incredible.
My goodness.
Making superhumans, right?
Yeah.
And so that's why it's definitely a better human book recommendation if you're interested in that kind of stuff, and something worth checking out.
I have to check that one out. That one sounds crazy.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I think they also, I haven't read it yet. It's on my list. The same author wrote the book, The Rise of Superman.
Okay.
And it's the prequel to this book, and he talks about similar stuff. So if you're interested, both those books would be great. All right, man. Before we go into the show stuff today, I want to ask you 2 questions. First question. what was your favorite episode in season 2?
Oh, nostalgia time.
Yeah, just for a minute.
Yay. Okay. Yeah, no, my favorite episode I think was that first one we did in season 2. It was just like everything that went with that. Like we had a whole new, we're just like bringing a fresh new take on the show. I mean, we were just, I don't know, I think we really hit it really hard. It was that Wim Hof episode 1, season 2. I loved it. I mean, we really went hard in it. We did some I think we still did a kind of experiment. Oh, we did one before that in season 1, so we were able to kind of incorporate that into the talk too. So I don't know. I just felt like it was really well done. I had a great time doing it and talking about it, and just went really well. It was my favorite one.
That was a good one. And how about overall? We've been doing it since 2015. What was your favorite episode that we did together?
I think you knew this one. My favorite episode was our very first one. It was episode 000. It was so trash. I mean, you were so nervous, and we just felt like little tykes almost. I mean, geez, I definitely didn't have a baby back then. I don't think my wife was even pregnant when we started, and then your babies were little babies.
Yeah, man. That was, and what's cool, just so anyone listening, you can scroll all the way back right now and hit and listen to, it's called Better Humanology Launch, episode 000. And I leave it there because a lot of, just to let you know a little bit on the back end of podcasting, we could go in, re-record an episode, and change out the MP3 file and have something completely different there where we don't scare people off. Because if that's the first thing that you listen to, it's absolutely horrible.
Yeah, it is.
The audio quality is not great, and we're both nervous because we'd never really podcasted before. I think we're both talking fast, but also trying to sound professional at the same time. It's just really, it was not a good episode. I mean, maybe people they're not as critical as we are of ourselves, but I always laugh. I periodically, because it's just really short too. It's a short episode. I always laugh when we pull that one up, but that's awesome. That's your favorite one.
Of course, it has to be.
Yeah.
What about yours, man? What was your favorite? Or let's start with season 2.
Season 2 was The Cure for Burnout was my favorite episode.
That was me and you, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was me and you, and we talked about emotional well-being, and you gave a lot of great stuff in there just for people in general. I think it was a great me and you collaboration there, because I brought up this kind of technique or tactic strategy to how to attack life, the same way that I do training. So 3 weeks really hard, let's read the books, let's wake up at 5 a.m., let's train every single day, let's do all this stuff, and then back off for a week just to give yourself some reprieve. And then you kind of translated that to how people can take care of themselves emotionally, which I'm not as good at. And so I just feel like it was a good, helping people become better episode. That was definitely my favorite episode in season 2. And you guys can scroll back on that one as well.
I agree. I really like that we both came. We were in that mode for a little while. We were both coming with something totally almost different to attack the same kind of issue people were dealing with. And that was a cool time frame we had in season 2. What about overall?
And that's a tough one. I think not necessarily episode, sitting down and talking. I think the favorite thing that we did was the bike race together.
Yeah.
Because just that whole experience was pretty funny. I've been thinking about it a lot more recently because I'm going to go do that bike race again. And we booked everything super last minute, had to pay late registration fee for the race. There were no hotels because Wichita Falls, Texas is not that big. So we ended up in some lover's cabin, miles and miles outside of Wichita Falls in the middle of nowhere. Actually thought we were going to get murdered when we pulled up to this place. And we were speeding down the highway because we were calling them this lover's cabin resort or whatever. And they're like, yeah, we closed at 9. If you guys aren't here, then you're not getting your room. And we're like, okay. Yep. And it's 8:55 and we're 15 minutes away. Yeah, it was just, the whole thing was funny. And then the race itself was hilarious. I mean, just the whole thing. And then podcasting about it after was pretty fun too. But yeah, that 100-mile bike race, man, that was fun.
That was an awesome experience. But you also reminded me, especially because you're at Challenge today too, the Iron Mile. Me and you did something pretty similar to that.
We never podcasted about it.
We never talked about it at all. We planned to have a show in person and have a big talk about this challenge we just did, and we're gonna have everybody else do. And instead, we just did it just for something fun. What was it? We went 5 miles.
It was a 5 mile farmers carry with kettlebells. Yeah. And We just did that at my house. We walked from my house to my parents' house, and they live about 5 miles away. And yeah, we just never ended up recording anything about it. We just did it to become better, and then moved on.
That was awesome.
All right, man. Well, thanks for reminiscing. Hopefully, the listeners, you guys can go back, listen to some of those episodes, and pick out our favorite bits and see how you like them too. They'll definitely help you. They've helped me. All right, so you want to hop into today? We're talking about Murphy's Law for the season finale. Can you tell me what Murphy's Law is?
Yeah, so basically anything that can go wrong will go wrong. It's just the flat out, there it is, kind of definition.
Very simple. And I wish we could like take a poll on the podcast, like we were doing this live, and find out how many people love that podcast. I feel like not podcast. Love that phrase or that law. I feel like a lot of people use it to fit in with their daily lives when things are just going wrong.
Yeah.
What's your take on the law itself?
I guess I probably never even just thought about it in the way you just put it. I mean, I probably don't hear it that often in my day-to-day life. When I first heard about it was in the military context, kind of a military brat. And it was probably like my dad talking about a movie or something that he had on his wall or something like that. So for me, it's always kind of meant almost like a tactical perspective. Like, hey, if you try to plan something, there's always going to be things that are going to come at you and try and, mess it up. So I never really even looked at like as the snowball kind of, my day is going poorly. And, if something can go wrong, it's going to go wrong, But, yeah, that's kind of how I've always looked at it.
I mean, I take, we've talked about this on the podcast before. I don't necessarily have a pessimistic mindset, but I always think about worst case scenario in almost every situation that I get into, which some people are not built for. I like Emily, my wife, absolutely not built for that. And so I've learned not to talk about that. Like, and it's not something I need to talk about, but like if we're walking into a situation or a scenario or something, I'm preparing my mind for every possible bad outcome, but I'm also thinking about the good things. I'm assuming the good's going to happen, but preparing for all of the bad things. And that's kind of how I treat things, but I don't think it's mentally healthy for some people to do that. Yeah.
So do you think if people aren't really, I guess, used to or skilled in kind of thinking that way, it's more like just creates worry?
Yeah. See, I think it's a difference between preparation and focus, because like when I do talk to people about that trait that I have, because I didn't like try and become that way to where I'm like always thinking about worst case scenarios and what can go wrong and trying to prevent them. I just kind of am that way. I've just kind of been that way for a long time. I don't know why. And it helps me prepare for things. But then once I feel prepared, I don't focus on them anymore. I don't worry anymore. And then I assume the good thing is going to happen, not the bad thing. I think if you start like, oh, this is the worst thing that can happen, and you like kind of focus on it, but you're not really preparing for it, so you're just in that worry zone, then I think it's how you use it. If you're in that realm, then it's absolutely a detriment to your mentality, and you're focusing on it too much, so it's probably going to happen, because it's such a, you're focused on it so much that it's most likely going to happen. So it's really how you handle it.
I think you bring up a really good point, and I feel like that's something that I kind of do innately too. And it's not like I figure out all my problems before they come to me, but I just always kind of focus on, okay, what could happen here? Even when I'm like driving, I'm looking like several cars ahead and what could happen there, or if I'm just like walking down the street, I'm trying to think about what later on in my day could go wrong and how I could reattack it or try and fix it. And so I think it really is a progressive kind of mindset, not necessarily a pessimistic viewpoint. If you use it that way, if you look at that kind of perspective.
Well, let me ask you a question. So have you dealt with or done any research on the law of attraction?
Yeah.
So they call it The Secret, right? Have you ever heard it referred? It's they have that. There's that really crappy documentary on Netflix. I think it's called The Secret, right?
Yeah.
Have you ever watched it?
I haven't finished it, no. But
yeah, no. I don't know many people who make it all the way to the end.
Yeah.
Make it to the end of that documentary. So what's interesting though is like, I think they took a really good idea and concept and they just like did a really crappy job on the documentary. Like, I wish someone else would have made it, because the concept is still very interesting, and it goes back to like Andrew Carnegie and like Henry Ford and Napoleon Hill. All those guys were the kind of like they started this idea. It's not really a secret. It's just like, what you're focused on, you become, and what you. But in that stupid documentary, they're like, I imagine a cup of coffee, and then I have a cup of coffee. It's amazing. And I'm like, that's not how that works. It's more like you need to focus on what you want and put every action, every ounce of you into that, what you want to become or what you want to achieve, and then it will come to fruition. That's how I look at it. But the reason I'm bringing it up is because I feel like that's true. The law of attraction is true to some degree, but it can also be true in a negative way. Like I was just talking about, is if you do just focus on that bad all the time, that's what's going to happen, because you are focused on it. It's not like this magic. That's what your mind is preparing for, and that's what you're gearing your steps for. Is small examples in fitness of like, you're going to be crappy on your diet. I'm going to cheat this weekend, all this stuff. If you don't want to, you don't have to. Imagine yourself doing something else, and I think things are going to get a lot easier.
Yeah, I think you make a really good point that there's a difference between expecting bad things to happen and just kind of let that overflood your brain, your thought pattern, versus preparing for the bad to happen and letting kind of that viewpoint of, okay, what's going to get me over the next hump? What's going to be the thing that's going to get me past the next challenge or whatever? They're totally different. They're totally different. One there's definitely like a right way and a wrong way in this situation. It's not like you can choose and like, figure it out for yourself, and it's all just relative. There's the way that's going to hurt you and impede your life, and then there's the way, where you're trying to look forward to how you're going to solve these problems. That's obviously the progressive and more beneficial way.
Yeah, and Henry Ford said, whether you think you can or you can't, you're right.
Right, exactly.
And I think that really applies.
And I think so. If we kind of used this law and kind of keep it in the front of our brain a little bit when we're thinking and we're spending that kind of quiet time with ourselves, we kind of create this pattern of preparation over time, right? We're always kind of preparing for how to overcome these challenges, and we're just so used to thinking that way. And that's just kind of how we go about our lives. When we have that little bit of time in between walking from, the desk to the door or wherever it is, getting out of the car and getting, into the house, or even on that quiet drive, all those moments are used with how to prepare and overcome challenges. And so it's always this kind of, way of surviving, but not just surviving, but thriving when these challenges come, because you've already kind of figured out what you're going to do.
So how could we help someone become more prepared for, but not worry about situations? Like, how can someone become more prepared? Like, what would your recommendation be if you're like, maybe they are a worrier, they do think about worst case scenarios, but they know after listening to this that they're heading in the wrong direction. What would you recommend they do to stop worrying, but just prepare for it and move on? Do you have any tips on how you would do that?
I mean, I would approach each specific type of issue separately, right? So if you're talking about like something that maybe just is weighing on your mind, and you're caught up in that still because you're not used to this kind of pattern type of thinking, then just look at that one problem that you're thinking about, in your head right now, and then focus on ways where how that's causing you that worry. Focus on ways to overcome that. Focus on like how you're going to be trying to fix it. Focus on solutions first. If you're stuck right now and you're not able to go about this yet, just start thinking about solutions before you start thinking about like all the things and all the worry that this thing is causing you.
And then I think getting hung up on your plan is also a problem, because I love the quote or saying, "No plan survives first contact." That's what they say in the military, and Mike Tyson, I think, may be the one who actually coined it with everyone has a great plan until they get punched in the mouth or something like that.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
So it's like, don't focus too much on your plan. Just like get it maybe 80% of the way there. And I like to relate a lot of this stuff back to, diet and fitness and training. Like if you just have a scheduled, let's say you're not following a program, a routine, or anything. Mm-hmm. And because I'm obviously very big about being on a plan, routine, program, all of those things, but I'm not saying everyone has to be. What I think is, if you were to do, not worry so much about what you're doing, like drop that out of your concern when it comes to fitness and nutrition. just try and do like one thing. So if the only thing that you could focus on was you work out at the same time every day for 30 minutes and you have no idea what that's going to be every day, but you go do something, whether you're just in your room, you're like, okay, well, I'll do 30 minutes of push-ups. You'll find out after you do 30 minutes of push-ups that you probably won't do it again because of how sore you got, but you just keep doing something every day. But if you just stick to it, you're going to see phenomenal results. And so I think don't worry too much about the plan, but just have 80% of the way there, something in place.
Yeah, even just working on the plan, even if you have 10% like in place and nothing is getting solidified, just working towards that mindset where you're working on a plan already kind of creates that progressive kind of way of thinking where you're not focused on just the problem and all the after effects it's causing your life.
Yeah. And we're not Superman, right? That's Superman, super women, super people, superhuman.
Who said that? Who said we're not superhumans?
I just hate that term in general because
Not a Clark Kent fan.
It just gives this whole like there are very few people out there who are just like, to be honest, I don't think anyone has it all figured out. And that's more doing so many interviews on this podcast and with people who you might think have it all figured out. I mean, they're open with it on the podcast about their challenges and mistakes and setbacks and all this stuff and their mindset, their mentality. Those are the kind of things I try to deep dive into with guests on the show. Right. But even the most successful people I've interviewed are still insecure or worried about what's going to happen next. They do their best. They're probably better than most at like combating those negative thoughts. But there is no superhuman, and that's the problem. I mean, this is a completely different topic, but can be a problem with social media. Only seeing everyone else's perfect vlogged life or Instagram filtered, whatever, and you don't see any of the hard times, and so it makes you feel like you're the only one going through them, and that's never the case.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I think you bring up some really good examples where it's perception is really what seems to drive a lot of how we perceive reality rather than what is actually reality. And that's kind of how, when you start to think about just that concept in general, you start to realize that you can control even just your reality, because how you think about things really is what controls your life. And so that's kind of why, for me, I really like the idea of flipping Murphy's Law and talk about it in a way where it's like anything that can go right will go right, and maybe with a little, qualifier that unless you get in the way of it going right. And that's kind of just another way to look at it, where you're not necessarily having to worry about so much kind of retraining your brain and all of your thought processes, whether you can just look at this phrase kind of law and keep it in front of in the front of your brain there and just focus on like, look, things are good and are bad that are going to happen to you in your life, no matter which one you're thinking about. They're going to both happen. But if you're focused on the good things that are going to happen, you're going to be looking for those and expecting those. And you can still have a progressive mindset on, hey, I'm going to overcome challenges, or hey, I'm going to work through this, or how can I get over that when that happens, and still expect the good things to happen too. And that'll just create a lot less stress on you and a lot more positivity and kind of that growth building thinking to start.
So what do you mean unless you get in the way of it? You said.
Yeah, so that's kind of my way of still being a realist, really, right? Still saying that I have control of it. And then still saying that, yeah, life's not going to be perfect, but I expect these good things to happen. And if I don't get in the way, then, the good things are going to still happen out there. But at the same time, I can get in the way, and things might not go great all the time. Good things are still going to happen, but if I get in the way, then it's going to be up and down still. So it's kind of keeping my realismness in there for me.
I like the caveat. Yeah, I just want to dive deeper on that with you. So would you say get in the way of it like just mindset or through action? I just want to know a little bit more about that.
Yeah, both. I mean, seriously, I would say both. I mean, probably more action, honestly. And like, hey, things are going to go right. If they can go right, but you can still affect it, basically. So you can still jump in there and make things better, make things worse. So that's kind of, and then also it's how you think about it too. So I mean, really, it's both, because you could say, things are gonna go right if they can go right, But if I get in there and mess it up, then things could change. And that's just also keeping that focus where like my world doesn't happen without me affecting it.
Okay, so let's now we have kind of Talon's flipped version of Murphy's Law, and then we have Murphy's Law. Which
Right.
one do you think is more realistic in life?
Me personally, I think I think that's totally dependent on how you look at it. Honestly, I mean,
So you
there
think
isn't one
Murphy's Law is all perception?
I think it's all perception. Yes,
Okay.
how you use it.
Yeah, that's
Do you think there's actually one that's more like more realistic to life?
so the way I look at Murphy's Law is all about preparation, not necessarily like, because if I actually like fully believed in Murphy's Law, then I would just like go throughout my entire day thinking everything like, when I go to turn on my computer, it's not going to turn on. When I go to get my coffee, I'll be out of coffee. When I go to sit on the toilet, it's going to break. Like everything like there's no way that the law can actually be a law throughout your entire day. So I look at it way more preparation based. But the phrase that they use in the military a lot, and in a lot of different training schools and whatnot is, 2 is 1 and 1 is none. Right. So if you have a flashlight and you have, let's say, you don't even need to say you have 2 flashlights, make it easy, and one breaks. All right, now you have 1 flashlight. If you have 1 flashlight out in the field and it breaks, now you have none. You have no flashlight. So it's just always being prepared. And I'm a huge believer in that, is this preparation for things like that. But I don't know. I think that Murphy's Law is true if you suck at preparation. Because I think there have been times in my life where I was like, you would try something new, you'd never done it before, everything goes wrong, that could possibly go wrong, but then you get better at it and you suck less at it the next time that you try, and then you try again and you suck a little bit less at it. And by sucking less, all you're really doing is being more prepared. So I think maybe it's true when you're starting new things, like new activities, you can just count for everything to go wrong. Because like you're really into basketball, and playing basketball, me versus you, you're way better at basketball than me. To be honest, like I haven't played basketball. Well, I've played in my backyard with my kids a little bit here and there, but like I'm talking about played since you and I were in college.
Right.
And like I was getting mad at people because I couldn't like punch them. Like I don't remember what was happening, but I'm only bringing this up because if you and I were to play like one-on-one, you would just like school me and all this shit I don't even know about basketball, like different moves and like all this crap. Like, so almost everything that could go wrong for me playing someone in basketball the first time would go wrong because like I just don't know. But the next time I'd be more prepared, right? I would know that, okay, Talon does this, and I would still get my ass handed to me, but a little bit less. Maybe I scored once or something like that. And so I think it all has to do with preparation. And when you're starting something new that you've never done, yeah, Murphy's Law is true. Is Murphy's Law true in life every single day, each and every single day? No, God, no. That would be the worst world I could possibly think of.
Yeah. Yep. That's not a place that I would want to live in, where I'm just expecting all these bad things to happen. I just I turn on the computer, I expect it to never turn on. Like, there's no way. I couldn't live like that.
No, it's not a realistic thing. Now, I have a few points that kind of go in with Murphy's Law, and just preparation and stuff in general. So you mind if I spout them off, and then we can just kind of like chat about each one? And some of them I've kind of talked about already, so I'll skip those. But no perfectly ready person succeeds. And how do you feel about that statement?
I'm not a planner type of person.
Yeah. So go ahead.
But I mean, like this entire Murphy's Law is. I mean, I totally agree with everything you were just kind of talking about. How it is really about preparation. That's how I've used it. That's how I've viewed it. I know we've gotten to a little bit of philosophical stuff where it's really how you can use it on looking at life entirely. But yeah, if you break it down, I mean, that's really what it's about. Is just trying to be prepared for things that you're going to be doing, especially if it's going to be things that you can foresee happening, so you can look for those challenges and things ahead. So I mean, perfect is a word I don't really want to. I don't really want to use ever. I mean, especially if I'm talking about something I'm be trying to do, because I don't expect perfection in anything that I create. But so I mean, I would say I definitely disagree because that word's used in that statement. But
Well, it says no perfectly ready person succeeds. So I think it's the way I look at it is that you can't be perfectly ready.
so it's saying nobody succeeds.
Not perfectly ready people. Because
Well, you can't be that way.
Exactly.
So nobody succeeds is basically just what it's saying.
Pretty much. It was no one succeeds if you're perfectly ready because you can never be perfectly ready. It's
Stupid.
a tricky statement. All right. Let's see. I brought that one up. The important things are simple. How do you like that one?
Yeah.
This is not as related to Murphy's Law, but it's in the same vicinity.
Of course.
Okay. And simple things are very hard.
It's so oxymoronic. I can't get my head around it. I mean,
that's a distinction.
Depends.
A distinction I like to make in training all the time is that I'm very careful to use the word simple and not easy. Because if I want to give you an easy workout, given your fitness level, I would say, Talon, go walk 10 minutes today. And you'd be like, well, that was crazy easy. I could give you a simple workout.
Oh, another hills involved.
Yeah, I could give you a simple workout. Yeah, that could be straight up a 60-degree bank as fast as you can for 200 meters.
Right.
So simple. You don't even need any equipment. It's just that I took you to a hill and like you ran it. Super simple, but hard as crap, right? And I think that's why I said in both. The important things are simple, but the simple things are very hard because it's not important for you to do this easy thing, but it's important for you to push yourself in a workout, and a simple workout can be very hard. Then you move that to bigger pictures, things in life. Like there are a couple of things that we know we should be doing each and every single day, like maybe with our families, with nutrition, for our own personal mental health. They're simple things, but why are they so hard for us to do? Like nutrition's the biggest one I could bring up that I know. Like I could give you like 5 rules on nutrition and change your life, but it's fucking hard. Why is it so hard when it's so simple? You know what I mean? Like I don't even have an answer to that question because it can be challenging for me as well. And my diet's fairly clean, but why I don't have an answer to that. But simple things are very, very challenging for humans. All right, man. And I think this one, let's see. Oh, I'd like to get your opinion on this one. I got two more.
Okay.
If something's going really well, you're not trying hard enough.
This reminds me of that. Isn't like a Marine statement where it's like you're not trying hard enough if you're not cheating. That's what it reminds me.
If you're not cheating, you're not trying.
Right. That's what it is. If you're not cheating, you're not trying.
I don't think that they relate at all.
So something's going really well and you're not trying hard enough. That's what it is for me. It's like, no, they're not really relatable, are they? That's what it reminds me of.
Yeah, it sounds similar in dictation.
I mean, it makes sense. I think it makes sense to me too, because if things are going really well, then you're probably not pushing the limits.
Yeah, you're probably not challenging yourself.
Yeah, you're probably not really getting better. I mean, if everything's going smoothly, then you're probably, you've gotten to a point where you're plateauing and you're doing really well. I mean, you're probably a high level plateau, but I mean, if you're not going up, then you're not growing.
Yeah. And you just meant like that happens to me in fitness all the time. Like if I can just, stay at like a base level, things are fine, going well. Obviously, I'm not pushing myself hard enough. But what I want to challenge you, myself, and listeners to, here is an additional challenge to everyone listening, is, okay, when you talk to people, right, maybe in passing, or it could even be your parents, someone a little bit closer to you, and you say, like, hey, how are things going? And they're like, things are going well, or things are going good, whatever they say. That's typically everyone's response, right?
Yep.
I want you to then your response be, well, you're obviously not trying hard enough. And that should spark a really great conversation from them, or at least get you a pretty good look. If you do it to a stranger or a person you met for the first time, that would be epically awesome. Like, hey, how are things going, man? Oh, things are going well. It's like, well, you're not trying hard enough. It's like, that would just be an in-your-face. I love it. Will you do it? You try it at least once?
I will. I'm going to search for that person that says, hey, I mean, the only reason I said that is because I'm doing the opposite of Murphy's Law, and I'm expecting good things to happen, and everything's going well.
That would be awesome. Hopefully you run to someone listening to the show and they try it on you.
Hopefully.
All right, so I think this is the last one I want to get your opinion on, because I know the rest of them you would agree. This one's kind of the same. Easy way generally means no results, but let's go with that reserve that you plan to use later is now. And this is actually like a military law. I forgot who stated it. I like to translate it to working out sometimes, is like that energy reserve you think that you're going to use up later in the workout, that is right now. Like, and if we're talking about in the workout, it's like, you're like, no, I'm going to save it for the last 10 seconds. No, right now is the time to use that, not at the last 10 seconds. But I also think that people feel that way about a lot of things in life. Like, oh, I'm going to try a lot harder once I get to this point. Or I'm going to try, I'm going to save myself a little bit or take a break here. But now is the time to use that up, because I think that's how you're going to, hopping back to the last one, work hard enough for things to not go well and to actually be challenging yourself. So what's your opinion on that?
I think that I think that's an awesome one. I think that one fits, I think, a lot of different things other than just Murphy's Law. But I think it's kind of like, don't expect to have your reserves like still there for you, even if you do. Don't expect to have outside aid, even if you have support, in your life or something like that. Prepare without that kind of thing. But it also kind of has this flip side where it's like, live life to the fullest.
Yeah.
Even though you have these reserves here, even though you have leftover, energy, or you have leftover money or whatever it is, use these things. I'm not necessarily, save money is probably a good one. Maybe I shouldn't throw that one in there, but use what you have.
Spend it all today.
Right. But it's kind of like, don't leave anything else like left on the court when you walk off or on the field or whatever it is. Use up everything you have and live it to the fullest and do everything 100% if you can.
Don't save anything for the walk home.
Right.
That was one of
not 95%. Right. Exactly.
Yeah, that was one of our quotes that we had on the podcast. No, I think that's a great one to live by. I personally think that you should end each and every single day exhausted. And if you're not, you've not done something that you could have. That's all I got about that, man.
Leftover energy that you could have gotten better with.
Yeah, well, yeah, if you're getting in bed and you're like, I'm not that tired. It's like, well, then go do something. Like,
run around the house a couple times.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be fitness. Like, if there was something in your household that you left undone, like the dishes, get up and go do that if you feel like you have energy left over at the end of the day. Do something that will exhaust you. Read a book. Do a push-up.
That's what my parents used to say. They'd say, go run around the house a couple times if you're not tired yet. But isn't that reverse? Doesn't that wake you up too? Like,
yeah, it would a little bit, but I think it's just funny because my dad is very similar. Like, yeah, you're not. You need me to give you work to do. Basically, is saying something like that. Like, never say you were bored. Never say you're not tired or something. Like never. Yeah.
Right.
Do that.
Things are going well, so you weren't working hard enough.
Yeah. All right, man. You have anything else?
All right. That's it.
All right. Well, this is the season finale. Season 2 is concluded and over. Season 3 is coming your way next week, and I'm excited for it. We have some really great guests stepping on the show right there at the beginning, and that's it.
Woo!
Peace out. Season 3 coming up.
Thanks, guys.
your best. Losers always whine about their best.